Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is out of step with the Biden administration on China. The Prime Minister is out of step with our Five Eyes allies on China. The Prime Minister is even out of step with his own caucus on China. And the experienced Liberal finance chair says that he needs to wake up and smell the roses. Will the Prime Minister wake up and remove Canada from the Asian Infrastructure Bank?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, over the past number of years, we've always been very clear with China where we disagreed on human rights, where we have real concerns about the treatment of the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, about the situation in Hong Kong. We've continued to express our concern and demonstrate our solidarity with the two Michaels and expect that they be returned home from arbitrary detention, while at the same time we continue to work with partners around the world on holding China to account and improving opportunities for our workers and businesses across the country and around the world. These are things we will continue to work on, including tomorrow in our virtual G7 meeting.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we lost 213,000 jobs in January, most of them in Ontario and Quebec. That's 213,000 families looking for a paycheck amidst a pandemic. The Prime Minister is funding the Asian Infrastructure Bank, while his Liberal, insider-friendly Canadian Infrastructure Bank has completed 0 projects in Canada. When will the Prime Minister start prioritizing Canadian workers?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as a part of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, Canada joins countries such as Australia, France, Germany, India, Italy, South Korea, and the UK in promoting growth around the world. But indeed, Mr. Speaker, when the Leader of the Opposition brings up support for workers, let me point out that the Conservative Party has consistently said we've done too much. When we gave 380,000 unique applicants for the sickness benefit the support, where we supported the wage subsidy with over 5 million jobs, over $64 billion in support for workers. We've had Canadians' backs, and we will continue to.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday experts spent hours telling committee about the conflicts of interest, the late planning, and the end run around Canadian manufacturers that defined this government's vaccine plan. By the end of last week, 2 million Americans a day were being vaccinated. We need 2 million Canadians a week to get vaccinated to meet the Prime Minister's vaunted September deadline. Why are Canadians paying the price for this Prime Minister's planning failures?
Honourable Prime Minister.
On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, from the very beginning, we valued the work of scientific and industry experts volunteering their time to ensure sound, evidence-based decisions during the pandemic on the Vaccine Task Force, which has a robust conflict of interest process in place and goes above and beyond the practices of other volunteer external advisory bodies. We have moved forward on procuring vaccines for Canadians. In the coming weeks, we will be receiving millions of vaccines. We're going to hit our March deadlines, and all Canadians will be vaccinated by September.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the talent to produce vaccines does exist in Canada. It's a fact. Unfortunately, the Liberal government ignored Quebec companies like Solstar Pharma, preferred instead a partnership with a Chinese state entity. Why did the government abandon Canadian companies and embrace Chinese state companies instead? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, since the very beginning, we have been relying on the experts who have provided us with expertise on investments here in Canada to promote the biomanufacturing industry. We have made investments like Medicago in Quebec, just up to $170 million. Covax Pharma, $4.0 million. Another company in Saskatchewan, Vancouver, another company in Ottawa, Precision Nanosystems, Immunovaccine Systems in Dartmouth, and others. We are investing in domestic production. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. The Prime Minister continues to repeat that there will be many vaccines delivered in March and many others before September. It sounds great, but can the Prime Minister tell us how many Canadians will be vaccinated next week? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to say that this week we will receive more than 400,000 vaccines from Pfizer. They are arriving in the provinces and territories as we speak. We know that there will be some delays in the vaccine deliveries, but of the 1.2 million vaccines delivered, approximately 90% has been delivered into Canadians' arms by the provinces and territories. We will continue to put the vaccines in the arms of Canadians. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Instead of the federal government, Quebec will invest the money in Laval's Infectious Disease Research Centre for a vaccine that could save lives. It prefers instead giving hundreds of millions of dollars to outside foreign companies. He said he was advised by experts on these decisions. I would like the Prime Minister to tell the House what the committee told him to exclude an international vaccine expert, the University of Laval, the Right Honourable Prime Minister. I'm very pleased to set the record straight for my honourable colleague and say that in February, Mr. Kobinger received a federal subsidy of $1 million for research in the rapid research against coronavirus investments. We are here to invest in science across the country and have been for the past 5 years and since the beginning of the pandemic. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, people are not stupid. They asked for $2 million. They were told no. The Prime Minister is refusing to tell Quebecers what was said to exclude the University of Laval. This will have an impact on health and safety and perhaps even on people's lives. Rather, there are contracts with multinational companies for the delivery of vaccines, but this is a failure. Why is the Prime Minister behaving like a king who has to give accounts to no one and does things in secret? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. We hear the frustration in the voice of the Bloc leader. He sees the federal government investing in Quebecers and investing in Canadians and being present in the lives of people, as we have done from the very beginning. We've been there to support Quebec families, Quebec workers, Quebec researchers and scientists. We will be there for all Canadians, as we have been from the beginning. Yes, to invest in promising science, but also to support families. And my God, the Bloc leader wants to call people stupid because he's so frustrated that we're delivering for Quebecers. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. New variants of COVID are spreading more rapidly, and this is a bigger threat to people. People are worried it's not time for an election. So today, can the Prime Minister commit to not calling an election during the pandemic, yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, since the beginning of the pandemic, our priority here in the House and elsewhere in the work that the government does has been to help Canadians, to pass legislation to support Canadian seniors, young people, and that is what we are doing, along with the partnership of many members in the House on all sides. So the reality is that at present we see delays caused by the Conservative Party when it comes to the measures that I know that they want Canadians to get. And we will continue to try to work with the opposition members to deliver for Canadians as long as we can.
Member for Burnaby South.
The Prime Minister told his party to get ready for a spring election. All the while, the new variants of COVID-19 are spreading like wildfire. We've seen the effect of the new variant in Newfoundland and Labrador, where people are getting sick and they're afraid to vote, and it's meant that they've had to delay the election. I have committed that I will not trigger an election while we are fighting this pandemic. Will the Prime Minister commit today in this chamber that he will not call an election while we are fighting this pandemic? Yes or no?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we know well that in a minority parliament, the government doesn't have the sole power to decide when we go into an election. The opposition members have a role to play, both in providing confidence for the House, but also by being able to function appropriately to deliver the help to Canadians that Canadians so seriously need. We will continue to stay focused on delivering for Canadians, delivering vaccines, over 6 million vaccines by the end of March, tens of millions of vaccines into the spring, and every Canadian vaccinated by September. That is our focus. That's what we'll stay concentrating on.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
834,100. That's the number of paychecks that are missing in Canada. That's the number of families sitting teary-eyed around the kitchen table trying to figure out how they're going to fund their future. And while the Deputy Prime Minister has congratulated Conservatives for supporting income programs for those same families, those families need jobs back in order to secure their future. With unemployment a third higher than the G7 average, when will those families have their paychecks back?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, from the beginning of this pandemic, we made a simple and straightforward promise to Canadians that we would have their backs, regardless of how long it took, regardless of what it took. And that's why we delivered the CERB to 8 million Canadians, even while Conservative politicians like the member from Carleton were saying we were doing too much, too fast, and oh, you shouldn't be helping workers. You got to help businesses faster than workers. Sorry. We were there for Canadians. We continue to be there for Canadians. And we know the best way to get the economy to come roaring back is to create opportunities for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
What the Prime Minister has just said is false. In fact, his Deputy Prime Minister thanked the Conservatives for supporting that assistance. But it just shows how out of touch he is, that he thinks that families can go on living forever off a measly $2,000 check from the government. They don't have multi-million-dollar trust funds like he does. They want jobs, like workers in other countries where unemployment is significantly lower than it is here. So why is it, Mr. Speaker, that workers abroad get paychecks while ours here at home just get credit card debts?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, among others, the IMF has recognized that Canada's approach to supporting workers, to supporting businesses, to supporting communities through this pandemic has left us better positioned to come roaring back once this pandemic is over. We had to do the things that were necessary to protect Canadians during this pandemic, and as a government, we were there to support those families. We know we are all looking forward to getting back to work right across the country. But the fact is, we need to continue to be there to support them while we get through this pandemic, and this government will continue to do so, regardless of what the Conservatives say.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
What the IMF actually did is cut Canada's growth projection for this year by a third, not to mention that we're falling behind the rest of the world on jobs. In fact, the G7 average is 6%, the US 6.3%, the EU 7.5%, Canada 9.4%. They all have COVID too, but they're getting their jobs back. Isn't it clear that for Canadians to regain their jobs, this Prime Minister will have to lose his?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this crisis demanded targeted, time-limited support to keep people and businesses afloat, and that's exactly what this government chose to do. The IMF report indeed found that Canada's strong and decisive actions at the onset of the pandemic, quote, provided crucial support to the economy and the functioning of financial markets and helped protect lives and livelihoods, and that Canada's strong history of prudent policymaking afforded it the policy space to respond forcefully to the crisis and avert much steeper declines in economic activity and employment. We were there for Canadians. We will continue to support them through this pandemic.
Honourable.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, while the Liberals are looking in every corner of the world to find a supply of vaccines, we could have made one directly here at home at the Laval University's Infectious Disease Research Center. This is the only Canadian team to have developed an Ebola vaccine, and it made it to the approval stage. In just a few short weeks, with crumbs, they developed an effective prototype for animals against COVID-19. Why did the federal government not make vaccine R&D in Canada a priority? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we did invest in Canadian production. We invested in Canadian science, not only during the pandemic, but for the past 5 years since the former Conservative government had underinvested in science. In fact, we had offered and given Mr. Covinger a federal subsidy of $1 million in the beginning of the pandemic for his research, for rapid research on the coronavirus. And we will continue to invest in Canadians. We will continue to deliver for Canadians. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, the reality is that the Prime Minister put his money on China to develop a vaccine instead of supporting local developers. Ultimately, we lost the deal with China. We lost our intellectual property, and the government has wound up behind in negotiations when it came time to make former federal MP Frank Baylis a priority. There was no problem. Is the Prime Minister surprised to be outsmarted by China? The Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we made investments across the country at the same time as we signed contracts with international companies in order to ensure that Canadians would get the vaccine. And our plan is working. And we will have more than 6 million vaccines by the end of March. We will have vaccinated everybody by September of this year. At the same time, we have invested in domestic capacity, be it Medicago in Quebec, Glycovax in Montreal, Variation Biotech in Ottawa, Abcelera in Vancouver, Civimco in Burnaby, Vital Intervac in Saskatchewan. We are here to invest in domestic production as well. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, the government can keep saying as often as it likes that Canada will get 6 million doses of the vaccine by March 31st. It's already behind schedule. 6 million is just a fraction of what we need. People are dying because of mismanagement and a lack of vaccine supply. How many lives will be lost because of this government's incompetence? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, in the beginning of December, the members of the Conservative Party were saying that billions of people around the world were going to get vaccinated before a Canadian would get their first dose. It's completely false. We have seen, on the contrary, that Canada has been among the first 2 or 3 countries in the world to vaccinate their citizens with vaccines that are safe and effective. We are here to deliver vaccines to Canadians. We are in line to receive 6 million doses by the end of March, as we promised since November, and we will vaccinate everybody by the end of September. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, at the beginning of the pandemic, the government needed to take urgent action. That's why in March, all the parties gave the Prime Minister the power to get $2.5 billion to spend on research to develop vaccine development. They gave $1 million to the Laval University team. With that $1 million, they discovered a potential vaccine. They asked for $2 million more to test it. They asked the government this. It's 1/1000th of what was invested in vaccines. 1/1000th, and they said no. Why? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we quickly understood from the very beginning of the pandemic that we had to invest in domestic production and ensure that we updated our facilities, and that's what we did. In fact, we have already taken important measures before the pandemic began. During our first term, we gave Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada the ability to invest in life sciences. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have accelerated our investments significantly by making major investments in production capacity, like in Medicago and the National Research Council in Montreal. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. He didn't have the right sheet. It didn't correspond at all. The Prime Minister refused to invest $2 billion to develop a potential Quebec vaccine. If he had invested in time, perhaps Canada wouldn't be 52nd in the world when it comes to the vaccination rate. If it had invested in time, we wouldn't have to take vaccines that were meant for developing countries. If it had invested in time, it wouldn't have to get down on its knees to ask India for vaccines. Perhaps we would have gotten Quebecers vaccinated last month. The government of Quebec yesterday gave the $2 million. It did the federal government's job. Is he not a little bit embarrassed by the situation? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, our responsibility as a government is to listen to the experts, the scientists, and authorities to make recommendations on the best investments. It is taxpayers' money. Taxpayers are expecting us to make these investments in the best possible way. We have a lot of scientific excellence in this country, but we need to determine which one could most quickly give us a vaccine, who will get to the end. This is what our experts are doing, and we are listening to them, and we trust them in the investments that we have made with the taxpayers' money.
For Portage-Lisker.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister doesn't even pretend to support Canadian energy, and his lackluster approach is proof. 14 states in the U.S. have taken the federal government to court over the XL cancellation. Democrats and Republicans alike have called for the decision to be reversed. But our own Prime Minister, he's silent. He hasn't even bothered to reach out to any of these possible allies. Why is the Prime Minister always mailing it in with zero engagement, zero energy, and zero passion when it comes to protecting Canada's energy security?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, we have been consistent in our support for Canadian energy workers and for Keystone XL. We continuously advocated for this project to our counterparts in the United States. On my most recent phone call with the President, I raised Keystone XL again. We are disappointed, but we acknowledge the President's decision to fulfill his election campaign promise. We continue to be the single largest supplier of energy to the United States, contributing to U.S. energy security and economic competitiveness. We will continue to work hand in hand with the new administration to ensure we're creating good jobs for Canadians and opportunities for energy for all.
Honourable Member for Portage-Lisker.
Well, the Prime Minister failed miserably on Keystone XL. We expected a little more effort from him on Line 5. After all, there are 30,000 jobs in Ontario and Quebec at stake. So it would be nice if the Prime Minister passionately advocated for them, but it doesn't seem he's going to. No calls to the governors of Michigan or Wisconsin or to the cabinet secretaries responsible for these projects. So what is it? Is the Prime Minister going to actually pick up the phone, or is he going to continue this half-hearted, do-nothing approach to securing Canadian energy jobs?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I understand well that the Conservative Party of Canada has a job to do of throwing random accusations at the government to see what sticks. It's been doing that for the past number of years while we've been busy at work standing up for Canadians against what was at certain times a very difficult American administration. We stood up for jobs on NAFTA. We stood up for aluminum and steel workers. We continue to stand up to protect our supply management. We continue to protect our cultural industries. And now we work hand in hand with a new administration that is serious about tackling climate change and creating good jobs across the continent. We will continue to work with the Americans, and we will take no lessons from the Conservative parties on how to do that.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan and St. Paul.
Just before the holiday season, the Liberals sent out over 440,000 letters to CERB recipients, warning them they may have to repay up to $14,000. This bad news came following the worst economic downturn in nearly a century, so talk about kicking someone when they're down, Mr. Speaker. For months, Conservatives were raising the alarm on poor CERB eligibility communications, but the Liberals ignored the concerns of our constituents and instead told Canadians the upcoming tax season would be tough. Yeah, well, no kidding. How many self-employed Canadians are going bankrupt by this government's failure to face up to the problems with CERB repayments?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
See, here's the situation the Conservatives find themselves in, Mr. Speaker. They, at the same time as they say, oh no, the Liberals have invested too much in Canadians. They've been too much there to support workers, too much there to support seniors, to support youth. We've done far too much in terms of spending on Canadians to get them through this pandemic. But at the same time, they say, oh, you should have done more. You should have done more. You should have done more. They're completely incoherent, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we were guided by a very straightforward principle. Support Canadians as long as possible, as much as necessary, and that's exactly what we've been doing.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, the fact remains the Prime Minister is leaving thousands and thousands of Canadians behind. For example, those who aren't eligible for EI are being directed to apply for the new CERB. However, technical issues at the Canada Revenue Agency are automatically rejecting their applications. A Winnipeg couple with a newborn baby is dealing with this disaster. We've heard the same from a single mother in Vaughan, Ontario. A year into this pandemic, Canadians are being made more and more aware of this Prime Minister's incompetence. Can the Prime Minister provide a date as to when the EI CRB issue will be resolved?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, from the very beginning of this pandemic, we faced unprecedented hardship and situations across the country, and this government stepped up with CERB supports for over 8 million Canadians, with wage subsidies that made a huge difference in businesses across the country, with direct support for small businesses, with investments in shelters and homeless support programs, with investments to fight gender-based violence, which is on the rise in this pandemic. We have been there to support students, to support seniors. We will continue to be there to support people. And yes, as the member points out, there's more to do, and we'll do that too.
The honourable member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, an APTN report showed us that the government knew violence against the Sibega-Nagadi Nation was likely to happen before they launched their moderate livelihood fishery, and yet the Liberals did nothing. They allowed lives to be threatened and only showed concern after these acts of terror took place. This is textbook systemic racism, and Indigenous fishers don't need more symbolic gestures from the Liberals. They need leaders who will keep them safe. Can the Prime Minister tell us why this government stood by when Mi'kmaq fishers needed him to step up?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, we've been working with Indigenous leaders in Nova Scotia and indeed across the country on advancing their rights and on recognizing them, on moving forward on reconciliation, and on supporting them. We deeply condemn and regret the actions of a few in Nova Scotia, and that's why we are there to continue to support and move forward to build a better future for the Mi'kmaq and for everyone across the country.
The honourable member for Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, today our community is mourning another life lost to a fire that broke out in an encampment. This government's failure to uphold the right to affordable, accessible social housing is costing lives. In fact, a PBO report released last week noted that 9,000 Indigenous households are in core housing need and investments are critical. This federal government needs to step up and act now before more lives are lost. Will the Prime Minister commit to making immediate and substantial new investments to address the housing crisis in Winnipeg before more people die?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, over the past years, we have stepped up significantly with a $40 billion national housing strategy, a Housing First program to combat homelessness, supports for people living with addictions, and investments in Indigenous communities, including investments for urban Indigenous peoples facing challenges. We continue to be there. We look forward to continuing to work on rapid housing initiatives, on local municipal initiatives to build more housing. We are there as a partner to support vulnerable Canadians through this difficult time and into the coming years.
The honourable member for Vancouver Centre.
Mr. Speaker, as a family physician, I know gun violence is a public health issue that affects cities and small towns across Canada. Last month alone, there were 3 fatal gang shootings over 3 nights in Vancouver. We must end the gun violence and criminal activity. In 2019, we passed a bill and death.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for Vancouver Centre for this important question and for her many years of public health advocacy. While the Conservatives make promises to the gun lobby to weaken gun control, we are taking action to keep Canadians safe. Just yesterday, we introduced legislation that targets gun violence and criminal activity, addresses intimate partner violence, self-harm, and online hate. As the Canadian Doctors for Protection from Guns has declared, this is a comprehensive bill that, if enacted, will save lives.
L'honorable député de Nova.
The honourable member for West Nova.
Mr. Speaker, it's been a year since I first raised concerns of the fisheries crisis in West Nova with the Minister of Fisheries. And we all know how bad events played out due to her inaction. Spring fishing is just around the corner, and although the minister says that she's been holding discussions with stakeholders, no official agreements have yet been made. Will the Prime Minister ask the minister to take on her responsibility and ensure Indigenous and non-Indigenous fishers in Nova Scotia that they will not have to relive another season of insecurity, fear, and violence?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I thank the member opposite for giving me the opportunity to highlight the extraordinary work Minister of Fisheries is doing in resolving this issue, moving forward on the moderate livelihood for Mi'kmaq fishers and ensuring the commercial fishers in Nova Scotia and in Atlantic Canada continue to benefit from a strong future for their communities as well. We know that this is a situation that has been in place for many decades, but it is time to recognize those rights that have been identified for many years but not fulfilled. This is what we are working on now and hope to resolve soon.
The honourable member for Tobique-Mactaquac.
Mr. Speaker, yet again, we are given more dither, delay, and denial from this Prime Minister. Canadians are realizing more each day that they have yet again walked to the far side of a disappointing decision by entrusting this Liberal government to deal with the challenges of these times. The fact of the matter is that this government has demonstrated a pattern of neglect and lack of communication. The Atlantic fishing crisis is just one example of how this government has failed on numerous occasions to keep stakeholders informed and a part of the process. When will the Prime Minister do his job and look out for the livelihoods of all Canadians, including those in the fishing sectors?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, over the past 5 years, we have demonstrated what a government that is focused on Canadians actually can deliver for Canadians. Whether it was lifting 1 million people out of poverty, whether it was creating 1 million new jobs. These are the kinds of things we worked on. And then the pandemic hit, and we had an opportunity and demonstrated the ability to be there for Canadians. We made a simple promise that we would support Canadians as much as it took, as long as it took to get through this pandemic. That's exactly what we're doing. We're doing it for fishers in the Atlantic. We're doing it for farmers on the prairies. We're doing it for community members in the north. We're doing it for all Canadians.
The honourable member for North Okanagan-Shuswap.
Mr. Speaker, things aren't good on the West Coast either. Canadians that depend on fisheries have been let down by the minister. Investments across all sectors are being shelved because of uncertainty and instability. The minister's rejection of viable, science-based proposals is keeping Canadians off the water. Even Indigenous food, social and ceremonial harvest rights have been undermined by the minister's decisions and failures. When will the Prime Minister direct his minister to start working with the fisheries sector to rebuild fisheries and restore access for all Canadians?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as the grandson of a proud Minister of Fisheries and Oceans in this House many years ago, I can tell you that we continue as a government to be deeply committed to supporting fishers right across the country. Whether it's on the West Coast or the East Coast, the work that the Minister of Fisheries is doing with them, not just to solve the challenges of today, but to ensure a vibrant fishery industry for decades to come, given the scientific advancements, given the various climate challenges we're facing. We know there needs to be a strong future for our oceans, and that is something that we're working on hand in hand with communities right across the country.
The honourable member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, the BC fishing community have expressed that if the Minister of Fisheries continues to ignore sound science, the impact of our angling families will be devastating. Her own department's data shows that many rivers are showing strong returns and 100% closure of the fishery isn't required. From the recent Public Fishery Alliance open letter to the minister, failure to do so reinforces the common view that science-based fisheries management and your mandate letter from the Prime Minister are not guiding your actions. Will the Prime Minister step in now and demand that the Minister listen to the concerns of our BC fishing community? Yes or no?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, science and evidence must always underpin the decisions taken by any government. That was something that we knew and we heard very clearly from Canadians when we took over from a Conservative government that used to put policy ahead of science every single time. We base our decisions on science, and that's why we defer to the experts across the country in making recommendations on how to best preserve our fishers and their livelihoods for the present and for decades to come. That's the work we will continue to do with Indigenous fishers, with commercial fishermen, fishers, and indeed with people from coast to coast to coast.
L'honorable député d'Avignon.
The honourable member for Avignon-la-Métis-Matane-Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is gutless when it comes to assault weapons. He has completely abdicated responsibility by creating an optional buyback program, because that's what it really is, an optional program based on an optional ban on assault weapons. The government is relying entirely on the honor system with owners. How can the Prime Minister claim to have banned assault weapons when he's leaving up to 200,000 of them out there in the community? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, allow me to be crystal clear. Since last spring, it has been illegal to own or use or sell or purchase or transfer or bequeath assault rifles, military-style weapons all across Canada. That's something we promised and delivered on. Now we are putting in place steps to provide fair compensation to all those who have purchased those weapons legally and can no longer use them because they are now banned. The honourable member for Avignon-la-Métis-Matane-Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, it's not a ban. It's a suggestion. People are still allowed to have assault weapons. The only thing that's changed is that now they have the option of selling them to the government. Need I remind you, we're not talking about hunting rifles or harassing hunters. We're talking about military-style weapons like the ones used in massacres, like the École Polytechnique shooting. The Prime Minister also promised the families and survivors of École Polytechnique that he would ban assault weapons. Does he realize he's now betraying them? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't like the member to mislead the House and Canadians. We've tried to be crystal clear. It is now illegal to use anywhere in Canada, including in your basement or your backyard, these military-style assault weapons. It's a legal ban. It's an official ban. It is done. Those weapons are banned. Now we're giving people the opportunity, if they've purchased these weapons legally, to sell them back to the government, because now they simply cannot be used for any purpose. The honourable member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, another Liberal snow job this morning announcing the imminent arrival of, get this, modernization of our two official languages. A document, not legislation, but a document that would protect French. Meanwhile, our leader has been crystal clear on the issue of both official languages and protecting French everywhere in Canada. Our leader has promised to table legislation within 100 days of becoming Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, my question is simple. I hope the Prime Minister will attempt to answer it. When are we going to see the bill to modernize the official languages, which all the stakeholder organizations have been calling for a long time? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, for a number of years, we've been strengthening protections for both official languages all across the country. We will keep up the good work with the modernization of the Official Languages Act. And the Conservatives are suddenly trying to hold themselves out to be the great champions of official languages. Maybe they could answer this. Would they commit today to appoint only judges to the Supreme Court who are capable of speaking French? Yes or no? The honourable member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister only serves up blah, blah, blah. In recent months, the Auditor General, the response was only in English, and there are many senior officials and organizations who can only speak English. And federally regulated workplaces, there are officials who only speak English. There are officials who just don't simply want to speak French. So we're sick and tired of this, Mr. Speaker. We have concrete proposals. We're waiting for the legislation. Can you at least give us a date instead of all the empty rhetoric? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I think we can see that the member opposite is a bit touchy about the question I asked him, because even if he wants to try to portray his party as being serious about protecting French, he cannot show this very basic commitment to choosing only judges for the Supreme Court of Canada who are bilingual. That's a promise we made as a government. The Conservatives simply can't make the same promise. Why do they not want bilingualism in Canada? The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, the last organization of the Official Languages Act was done by Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. After 5 years of inaction and empty rhetoric, the Liberal government has done nothing. When is the Prime Minister going to break from his silence and agree to modernize the Official Languages Act? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are moving forward with our modernization of the Official Languages Act as promised, but in the past 5 years, official languages minority communities have known full well how much we've been there to defend them, how much we've done to defend French and English all across the country. We will continue to do that, but here's another opportunity for the Leader of the Opposition to say yes. He's only going to choose bilingual judges for the Supreme Court to demonstrate his commitment, but unfortunately, he's saying nothing on that subject. He doesn't really want to protect French. He just wants to play petty politics. The Honourable Member for Longueuil-Charlemagne. Mr. Speaker, earlier this week, I met with representatives of the round table of women's groups in my riding to discuss the huge challenges women are facing and the organizations who have been serving them since the start of the pandemic. Last week, the Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Rural Economic Development announced a new program to support these women and organizations. Can the Prime Minister give us an overview of this recovery plan, the Feminist recovery plan? Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for Longueuil-Charlemagne for her question. In order for Canada to recover from this pandemic, Canadian women need to be able to live and work in safety. That's why we announced our $100 million Feminist Recovery and Response Fund to support regional and national efforts to end violence against women and girls, to improve the economic security of women and boost the role of women and girls in decision-making. The Honourable Member for Wellington-Halton Hills. Mr. Speaker, the Chinese government is committing genocide against the Uyghurs and violating an international treaty by threatening 300,000 Canadians living in Hong Kong and engaging in other acts of warmongering in the region, particularly the Indo-Pacific region. Given this, is the government going to take a firm stand? Will they, at minimum, refuse to send a representative to the opening ceremony of the 2022 Beijing Olympic Games? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are going to continue to defend with resolve and firmness our interests abroad. Our Olympic athletes build bridges between peoples and nations, and they deserve our support when they take part in international competitions. We will continue to work with the Olympic and Paralympic committees, as well as all sports organizations, to support our athletes in the run-up to the next games, and we will continue to defend and support our values and human rights.
Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, specifically on the issue of genocide, The Prime Minister's excuse is that he says there needs to be another on-the-ground investigation. But if the Prime Minister could see a violent crime through his neighbor's window, I don't think he would just knock at the door and ask to be invited in to investigate. We already have satellite imagery, survivor testimony, numerous expert reports, recognition by the Biden administration, the unanimous statement of the All-Party Subcommittee on International Human Rights, and the public support of numerous Liberal MPs. The victims have spoken. The Prime Minister should believe them. Why the continuing denial?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we will always advocate and stand up for human rights around the world. Canada is deeply concerned by reports of human rights violations in China against the Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities. In October, Canada, along with 39 other countries at the UN, expressed its grave concerns regarding the situation in Xinjiang. This is why we've repeatedly called for an international investigation in response to allegations of genocide.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Prime Minister said the word genocide was a loaded term. 2 secretaries of state knew that, and they said it anyway. Irwin Cotler knew that, and he said it anyway. Many Liberal MPs know that and say it anyway. A 105-page report filed with a UK court describes in detail a campaign of enslavement, torture, rape, enforced sterilization, and persecution. If that's not a genocide, what more evidence does this Prime Minister need?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, Canada is deeply concerned by reports of human rights violations in China against the Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities. We've continued to work with the international community on pushing for better answers, on following up on these reports, and on making determinations around the seriousness of these acts. We recognize that we have many partners who've already identified this as a genocide, and we will continue to work with them and others as we move forward in the right way for Canadians and indeed for people around the world.
The Honourable Member for Moncton Riverview, Dieppe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government has stepped up and has taken concrete action to help support and protect Canadians since the very beginning of this pandemic. Canadians are worried about the second wave and the new variants and want to see their loved ones vaccinated as soon as possible. Can the Prime Minister provide an update to this House on our vaccination procurement efforts? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to thank the MP from Moncton Riverview Dieppe for all her hard work. Last week, I was happy to announce that we are now on track to receive 84 million doses of Pfizer and Moderna by the end of September. Enough doses to ensure that every Canadian who wants to get vaccinated has the opportunity to do so. This week, we're on schedule to receive our single largest Pfizer shipment to date. We promised a total of 6 million vaccines by the end of March. That's exactly what we will be delivering.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
The workers at Cesco, a company in Edmonton Strathcona, have been locked out by their employer since June. And instead of negotiating, that same employer was able to access federal dollars through the wage subsidy program to hire scab labor. Last week, these workers were locked out in -40 weather, while scabs collected their paychecks, paid for by this government. I wrote to the Minister of Finance over a month ago, and I have heard nothing back. When will the Liberals fix the wage subsidy program to ensure workers aren't the ones left out in the cold?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, from the very beginning, we knew we needed to step up to be there for Canadians, and that's exactly what we did. Within weeks, we delivered the CERB, and a few weeks later, the wage subsidy to support Canadians right across the country. We did that because all parties worked together to get this legislation through in exceptional circumstances and to be there for Canadians who needed it. Since that moment, we've continued to refine and improve the system to make sure that no Canadians are falling through the cracks, and we continue to know that there are many, many Canadians across the country who continue to need support. We will be there for them. As I said from the beginning, we will be there for Canadians as long as it takes, whatever it takes.